Good evening, everyone. My name is G. Priyanka. I'm working as an assistant professor in St. Martin Engineering College in the department of CSE AML. Today, I'm going to discuss about this subject called operating system. In that, I'm discussing about the scheduling algorithms. Okay, and the first slide is see, in today's agenda, I'm going to discuss about what is a process, what is the processor, and what is the life cycle of the processor, and what are the problems if the single process is there, and if n number of processes are there, how we are going to show the solution for that. What are the scheduling criteria and what are the types of scheduling algorithms we have to follow, and problems based on those scheduling algorithms. Now, okay, let us discuss what is process now. So process is nothing but a program which is under execution. Examples for the process is nothing but creating a folder, creating clearing the antivirus in the program and executing the code, etc. So these are the tasks which are given by the user, and these should be executed by the processor. So how the processor is executing the process now? See, the processor, if we are assigning n number of tasks to this processor, how it is like scheduling all the processes and executing. What is the role of the processor? It should execute the process, it should schedule the number of processes, and it should synchronize a different number of processes. So uh, this is the life cycle of the processor. So there are 5 states in the processor. The first one is new, second one is ready, the third one is running, and the fourth one is terminated. If the process is having any problem, it should wait for some time. So the created project, the process is created, and it is there. It will be there in the new state. From here, it will go for ready state for seeking the processor for its execution. And if it got the processor, it should execute in the running state, and it should, after completion of the process execution, it should terminate. If it is seeking the input output operations to be performed, it should wait here, it should wait, and it should perform all the input output operations, and it should resume back to ready state. After here, it should go to running state, it should complete the execution of the process which is scheduled, and it should terminate after the completion of the execution of the process which is there in the ready queue. So this is the life cycle for single process. If n number of processes are there, so which process should be executed? If n number of processes are waiting in the ready queue, at that time the processor will be in a confusion state that which process should execute first. For that, we have a solution. So with the help of the scheduling algorithms, we are going to schedule which process should be executed, which are waiting in the ready queue. So, what is the scheduling criteria? See here, if one process is there, there will be no problem. The processor executes it directly. If multiple processes are there, the process schedules them based upon the scheduling algorithms. The scheduling algorithms are classified into 4. The first one is FCFS, the second one is SJF, the third one is priority, and the fourth one is round robin. So, what is the goal of this scheduling algorithms? To find out the fairness of the processor and to minimize the waiting time of the processes, and to utilize the CPU, maximum part of the CPU utilized for the execution of this processes. Now, before going to the scheduling algorithms, we have to know some terms to assign the processes to the processor. So, what are those terms? We have to learn. We have to know about the terms called CPU utilization, throughput, turnaround time, waiting time, and response time. These are the 6 terms we have to remember. So let us go to this previous slide, that is what is CPU utilization. CPU utilization is nothing but how much time a processor is held with the CPU is nothing but your CPU utilization. Throughput is nothing but how many number of processes executed per unit time is nothing but your throughput. What is turnaround time? Turnaround time is nothing but the arrival time, the total time taken by the process from arrival to completion. That means turnaround time, the formula for this is given as completion time minus arrival time. The next term is waiting time. Waiting time is nothing but the time of a process spent waiting in the ready queue. That is the waiting time. The formula for this is given as turnaround time minus burst time. This is waiting time. Next, coming to your response time, the time from when a process arrives in the ready queue to the first time it starts. That means for the first time when the process have been started responding, that is called as your response time. Response time is equal to first start time minus arrival. This is the formula given for response time. Okay, now I was discussing about the scheduling algorithms. These scheduling algorithms are broadly classified into two: preemptive scheduling algorithms and non-preemptive scheduling algorithms. Preemptive scheduling algorithm, what do you mean? Let us understand what is preemptiveness and what is non-preemptiveness. Preemptive is nothing but we can stop the execution of the process which is under execution forcefully. That means if the process is there in the ready queue, if we want to stop it forcefully, if the process execution, if we want to stop it forcefully, and if we want to assign the next process, at that time we can apply this like a preemptive, in the sense we can forcefully stop the execution of the process for some time and we can resume it back. That is called as preemptive. Non-preemptive, we cannot stop the execution of the process which is under execution, which is in the ready queue till it finishes its burst time. This is a difference between preemptive and non-preemptive. And so under preemptive scheduling algorithms, the round robin comes under this preemptive scheduling algorithm, and under non-preemptive scheduling algorithm, FCFS and SJFs comes. Both the preemptive and non-preemptive. The example for this is the priority scheduling algorithm. Okay, now let us understand each one of the scheduling algorithm clearly. So what is this FCFS? FCFS stands for first come first serve. FCFS stands for first come first serve. That means in the definition itself it is defining that the process which is there, the processes which are there in the ready queue, what is the first process available, that is executed completely. After the completion of the first process only, the second process will be executed. That is the definition of the first come first serve scheduling algorithm. So the advantages of this is it is easy to implement, and the disadvantage is convoy effect. What is this convoy effect? I'll be explaining you in the problem. I'll be explaining you the problem of FCFS. In that, I'll be explaining you what is this convoy effect. So the next scheduling algorithm is shortest job first. The definition for that is the processes with the scheduling shortest burst time are executed first. That means whatever the process having the less burst time, that will be executed completely. Later on, the next process will be scheduled. The advantages with this will be efficient in reducing overall waiting time, and the disadvantages with this is starvation. What is the starvation and all, I'll be discussing. So the next algorithm, third scheduling algorithm, is round robin algorithm. In this, it depends upon the time quantum. The time quantum is mentioned. According to that time quantum only the processes are executed. It is same like FCFS, but the thing is here we have to concentrate on the time quantum given. According to that only the process should reduce. Each process is assigned a fixed time slice and executed cyclically. So the advantages with this is it is applicable in time sharing system, and the disadvantages is it depends upon the time quantum. So the performance depends upon the time quantum. According to the time quantum what they have mentioned, what is a time slice given, according to that only the process will be executed. So this is about round robin. And the next one is priority scheduling. So here the processes will be executing depend upon the priorities of the processes. Whatever the process having highest priority, that will be executed first. Later on, the processes which are having the lower priority, those will be executed. So the processes executed based on the priority. This is the priority scheduling. Efficient for real time system. So this will be applicable in real-time systems. And the disadvantages of this is, earlier we have seen the same thing with the SDF, the same thing here also. The starvation problem is there. What is the starvation? Let us see. So why preemptive and why non-preemptive? Why we have to stop the execution of the process in the middle, and why we have to schedule the other process, and why non-preemptive? We have to know this too. So why preemptive? It allows a urgent task to be handled immediately. If suppose if 2 or 3 processes executing, if first process, if P1 is executing in the middle, if P2 is having the urgency to execute, so in that case the P1 is stopped. If P1 is preempted, like it is stopped forcefully, and P2 is scheduled for execution. That is preemptive. And non-preemptive, it will not allow, the processor will not allow any other processes till the execution of the first one. That is non-preemptive. No interruption until current process finishes. This is non-preemptive. So let us discuss problems on each and every scheduling algorithms. So let us consider the first one, that is FCFS, first come first serve. The abbreviation for this is first come first serve, as I was discussing. So this is abbreviation for the first algorithm, that is first come first. See, I've considered 3 processes, that is the process number 1 is P1, P2 and P3. AT stands for arrival time, BT stands for burst time, CT stands for completion time, TAT stands for turnaround time, and WT stands for waiting time. So we have to calculate all these things for the 3 processes. The first process is P1 and its arrival time is 0. P2 is its arrival time is 1, and P3 its arrival time is 1. See, for the completion of execution of P1, the burst time given as 50. So 50 for 50 milliseconds P1 will be executing. After 50 milliseconds only, the processor is assigned to the process P2. That will be executed for next one more millisecond, and for P3 it is assigned as 2. After this 51 milliseconds, P3 will be getting a chance for its execution, and it will be executed for 2 more milliseconds. And we have to draw the Gantt chart for every scheduling organ. So we have to know what is this Gantt chart, what is the importance of this Gantt chart. So it shows the sequence of execution of the processes. What are all the processes we have? How many of processes are waiting in the ready queue? And what is the sequence of all these processes? How they are executed? What is the sequence of this will be explained by this Gantt chart. So at 0, P1 is arriving at 0 milliseconds. The arrival time of P1 is 0. So at 0 milliseconds, P1 is started executing, and it requires 50 milliseconds for completion of execution. So P1 is executing for 50 milliseconds. After the completion of P1 execution, the next process is P2. P2, it is taking 1 millisecond of time for its complete execution. So after 50 milliseconds, P2 is executing for 1 millisecond. So 50 plus 1 is 51. So P2 is completed its execution. After that, P3 will come, which is waiting in the ready queue. As it is FCFS, first it will execute P1, then it will execute P2, then P3. So P3 requires 2 milliseconds of time for its execution. So P3, it requires 2 milliseconds of time. So 51 plus 2 is 53. Like this, the Gantt chart explains the sequence of execution of the processes. And this is first come first serve. All the processes will be executed in a sequence where in the ready queue how they are placed. So see, P1 is the first one, P2 is the second one, and P3. In the same sequence, they have executed. Now, let us calculate what is CT. What is CT? CT is nothing but the completion time. What is this completion time? How we are going to calculate the completion time for each process? See, For the process P1, the completion time is given as 50. See, for the 50 milliseconds it has been executing. P1 is executing for 50 milliseconds. That is why we have written P1 as 50 milliseconds. Now P2, see P2, it is given as 51. See how much time it is taking to complete its execution, 51. Next P3 is 53. This is the completion time we have to calculate. And turnaround time. Turnaround time is calculated. The formula for this is given as it is completion time minus your arrival time. What is this completion time for each process we have to consider, and what is the arrival time for each process is given, that we have to consider. See here, the turnaround time for the process P1 is 50 minus 80. That is your first process arrival time. So 50 minus turnaround time. The formula for this is given as CT minus AT. So let us calculate TAT. What is TAT? TAT is nothing but your turnaround time. How we are going to calculate TAT? Let us take a notepad and I'll explain you in the notepad. See. So these are the values we have considered. So we have to calculate TAT now. That is CT minus AT. CT is CT for the first process. CT is given as 50. That is 50 minus your AT is 0. The first process TAT is 50. Now the next process TAT is CT minus AT. That is 51 minus 1. This is again 50. Now for the process P3 we have to calculate TAT again. So CT, this completion time for P3 is 53 and its arrival time is again 1. So 53 minus 1 is 52. This is how we have to calculate TAT for each process, and the waiting time for each process we have to calculate. This is the waiting time for each process. The formula for that is given as TAT minus AT. That is this column minus BT. BT is nothing but your burst time. So TAT is equals to 50 for the process P1. 50 minus burst time is 50 for process P1. 50 minus 50 is equals to 0. 0 is the waiting time we got for the process P1. Now, in the same way, you have to calculate for the next processes. See, for the process P2, what will be the waiting time? It is turnaround time minus, again it is turnaround time minus the burst time. So, it is 50 minus, what is the burst time given for the process P2? That is 1, that is 49. And for the next process, the turnaround time is given as 52. We got as 52, and the difference between PT, that is 2. This is again 50. So this is how we have to calculate turnaround time for the processes and waiting time for the processes. So now the formula is given as sum of all the processes TAT divided by number of processes. Average, this is average, how we have to calculate average TAT. How we can calculate the average TAT is sum of all the individual processes TAT divided by number of processes. So how we can calculate this is 50 plus 50 plus 50 plus 50 plus 52 divided by 3. This gives your average turnaround time. In the same way, you have to calculate waiting time for given processes. How we can calculate the average waiting time? Average waiting time for all the processes, that is 0 plus 49 plus 50 divided by 3. This is how we have to calculate completion time, turnaround time, waiting time, and average turnaround time and average waiting time for first process, that for first scheduling algorithm, that is FCFS. Now let us go to the second scheduling process called SJF. So before that, if you observe this Gantt chart, what is the problem we are facing with FCFS? We have to know. That is, see, the burst time given for P1 is 50, P2 is 1, and P3 is 2. So for execution of P1, it is taking 50 milliseconds of time, whereas P2 and P3 are taking less time for its execution. Like P2 is taking only 1 millisecond of time and P3 is taking 2 milliseconds of time. But P1 is taking much like longer time for its execution. But all these, the other processes, till the execution of the P1, it is waiting. So this effect is called as convoy effect. Convoy effect. That is the problem we are facing with the first scheduling algorithm, that is FCFS. The problem, the disadvantage with FCFS is convoy effect. So to overcome this one, the next scheduling algorithm is there, that is SJF. So let us discuss what is SJF. Let us discuss SJF. After that, the problem based upon that. So to overcome the convoy effect, we have to go to the next scheduling algorithm, that is called as SJF. The full form for this is shortest job first. Shortest job first. That means, unlike the previous one, the FCFS scheduling algorithm, whatever the process available in the ready queue first, whatever the time, burst time it may be, till the execution of the first one, then the next one should not execute. Here in SJF, it is not like that. Whatever the process having the less burst time, that will be executed first. Later on, the next processes. How? Let us see. I have written in the notepad and I kept the values of this one. See, SJF. As I was explaining, the full form of this is shortest job first. See, here I have considered 5 processes, P1, P2, P3, P4 and P5, and their arrival times are 2, 1, 4, 0 and 2. Their burst times are 1, 5, 1, 6 and 3. Now, we have to consider the arrival time as well as the burst time to allow them into the ready queue. See the number of processes are here, and we have to consider the first value as 0. At 0 milliseconds of time, what are all the available processes we have? So at 0 milliseconds of time, only P4 is available. So we have to schedule P4 first. So after that, it is taking 6 milliseconds of time, it is executing. After that, the next least this thing is 1, that is 6 plus 1 is 7. It is taking only 1 millisecond of time, so it is executing for 1 millisecond. After that, the next least scheduling time is 1, that is P3. P3 executing for the next 1 millisecond of time, that is 1, that is 7 plus 1 is 8. After that, the least one is 3. So that is P5. P5 is executing for 3 milliseconds of time. So 8 plus 3 is 11. After that, the process P2 is executing. P2, it is taking 5 milliseconds of time. So 11 plus 5 is 16. This is how the scheduling done in the shortest job first. So let us understand this clearly with the help of a video. Okay, let us understand this more clearly with the help of a video. See here we have considered 5 processes which we are solving with the FCFS algorithm, that is first come first serve scheduling algorithm. Here the arrival times are given as 4, 6, 0, 6 and 5, and their burst times are given as 5, 4, 3, 2 and 4. So we have to assign these processes according to FCFS algorithm. So the first process which we are going to assign is P3, because the arrival time of P3 is 0 and it is taking 3 milliseconds of time. So for P3 is executing 3 milliseconds of time, and the next process arrival time is 4. So at 4, P3 completed at 3, and if, at 4 the next process is arriving. That means this is a lapse time what we are given for this, and after this P3 execution, the next process assigned is P1. P1, it is executing for 5 milliseconds of time, that is 4 plus 5 is 9. After that, the next process assigned is P5 and it is taking 4 milliseconds of time, 9 plus 4 is 13. And next process assigned is P2 and its burst time is 4. It means P2 is executing for 4 milliseconds of time. And see, these are the burst times and this is the Gantt chart given, and P4 is executing for next 2 minutes, that is P4 and it is 19. And we know how to calculate the turnaround time and waiting time. As I was saying you earlier, the turnaround time, the complete is this formula for this turnaround time is given as completion time minus arrival time, and waiting time is given as turnaround time minus burst time. So these are the values we'll be getting for each and every processes. That is completion time minus your arrival time, that is 5, 9 minus 4, and for P2 it is 17 minus 6, that is 11. Like this we have to calculate for each and every processes, and in the same way we have to calculate the waiting time as well. Like see, the waiting time for the first processes, it is nothing but the turnaround time minus your burst time, that is this one. So what is the P1 turnaround time, that is 5, and 5 minus burst time is 5 for the process P1, that is 0. 5 minus 5 is 0. The same way we have to calculate waiting time for the process P2, that is turnaround time minus your burst time. Turnaround time for the process P2 is 11, and for P2 the burst time is given as 4. 11 minus 4 is 7. In the same way we have to calculate for all the processes. After that we have to calculate the average turnaround time and average waiting time.